Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the top stories we have lined up for you today. As his visit to China continues, Prime Minister Mark Carney talks glowingly about the Chinese president and how quickly their relationship is progressing. Plus, the Alberta government says a fatality inquiry will be held into the death of a 44-year-old man last month in an Edmonton hospital waiting room. And Lethbridge businessman Don Donison is posthumously inducted into the BILD Hall of Fame. His daughter talks about his legacy.
Your nation. Your province. Your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks so much for joining us. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada is entering a new era of relations with China as he and several cabinet ministers meet with leaders and businesses in Beijing. Carney is meeting with top Chinese officials, and while most of the talks took place in secret, media were allowed into the room to hear the opening remarks of some of the meetings and to watch a signing ceremony for several memorandums of understanding. Energy Minister Tim Hodgson says one of the MOUs signed today would lead to more Canadian wood being used in China construction. In his meetings with the Chinese officials, Hodgson says when it comes to Canadian energy products, China wants more of what Canada has to offer. A Canadian citizen has died in Iran. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand said in an online post that the Canadian died at the hands of Iranian authorities as anti-government protests continue across the Middle Eastern country. Details about the person have not been released yet. Activists who rely on support in Iran to cross-check information say the more than 2-week crackdown on demonstrators has killed over 2,600 people. Canada has called for an immediate end to the violence. He's a controversial figure, but whether you like Elon Musk, his technology is helping Iranian protesters get details of bloody nationwide protests out to the world. SpaceX Starlink satellite internet service is dropping its fees to allow more people to circumvent the Tehran government's strongest attempt ever to prevent information from spilling outside of its borders.
These devices are illegal in Iran. They have been the only way for Iranians to get information, photos, and videos out of their country for days. This is a Starlink receiver, and tens of thousands of them are believed to have been smuggled into Iran since 2022. Activists say images of rows of bodies at a forensic medical center in Tehran, for example, came out because of these receivers. And they now say that SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet service is dropping its fees. This will allow more people to circumvent Tehran's strongest attempt ever to stop information from spilling outside its borders. Now, the decision by the American aerospace company run by Elon Musk follows the complete shutdown of telecommunications and web access to Iran's 85 million people. That was on January the 8th. And that was when protests continued to expand over Iran's faltering economy and the collapse of its currency. SpaceX has not officially announced this decision, but activists told the Associated Press that Starlink has been available for free to anyone in Iran with these receivers since Tuesday.
And closer to home, the Alberta government will conduct a fatality inquiry into the death of 44-year-old Prashant Srikumar at the Grey Nuns Hospital in Edmonton. Srikumar died December 22nd after waiting 8 hours to see a doctor. He had been complaining of chest pain and ultimately died of cardiac arrest. Minister of Hospital and Surgical Health Services Matt Jones says an inquiry is necessary.
Well, there is no doubt that pressures in the system, and specifically at the Grey Nuns Emergency Department, on December 22nd impacted care. After reviewing the information available to me, with advice from clinical experts, I have concerns and unanswered questions about the circumstances surrounding Mr. Srikumar's death. While system-level improvements are underway, a detailed, independent, and public review of how this specific case was managed also needs to be undertaken. We owe that to his family and to all Albertans. As such, I have asked the Minister of Justice to order a fatality inquiry. Minister Amory has confirmed that he has accepted the request and initiated the next steps to proceed. A fatality inquiry is a public and transparent process. It will take place in the Court of Justice and can be observed by the public. Following the inquiry, the Justice will provide a report to the Minister of Justice, setting out findings about the circumstances of the death, and this report may contain recommendations as to prevention of similar deaths.
Jones says for a trial period, the province is also immediately introducing a liaison physician position at the busiest emergency departments in Calgary and Edmonton. The liaison physician will work alongside doctors and nurses, helping to expedite assessments and begin care in waiting rooms where appropriate. The death of Prashant Srikumar has led to an outcry from physicians across the province to declare a formal emergency due to overcrowding. During today's news conference, Hospital and Surgical Services Minister Matt Jones says the strain has started to ease on the acute care system. Acute Care Alberta Interim CEO David Diamond says the inpatient occupancy in the province's 16 largest hospitals sits at 102%, including temporary and surge spaces that are currently open to meet the elevated demand. Hospital admissions for respiratory virus cases are down from a peak of 995 at the end of December to 675 today. BC's 3-year pilot project decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of illicit drugs for personal use is ending amid the same sort of division it has inspired since launching in 2023. While the program has launched to stem the tide of overdose deaths, it led to public disorder that forced many businesses to close their doors, an outcome critics had warned about.
It was a very well-intentioned attempt to add one more tool to help increase access to care, to help people seek the help that they need at a time when they need it most. With the decriminalization pilot ending, though, we continue our work. We continue this work of adding treatment and recovery beds, continuing to expand the intervention and supports, continuing to expand harm reduction services, and undertaking everything that we can to save lives, to help to build up and increase access on those pathways to care, acknowledging that each person's journey is different. It will look different for people, and we want to be there when they need the help at the time that they ask for it.
DJ Larkin, the executive director of the Canadian Drug Policy Coalition at Simon Fraser University, says the decision to end the program is political rather than a decision informed by health experts or people who use drugs. It's a snowy day for many residents of southern Ontario. Environment Canada says regions, including the Greater Toronto Area, are expected to get up to 30 centimeters of snow, while Ottawa and Eastern Ontario could see 25. So far, people are coping.
I'm actually visiting from Vancouver. It is a surprise that the transit is still working in this weather, right? It is really crazy out here today, at least, right? If I actually compared the weather with Vancouver, it's that weather is summer compared to this. It is really crazy out here at this moment.
Yeah, my company decided to hold a breakfast this morning, so I'm just coming back from that now. So I had to go out. The commute wasn't too far. I think I only went about 2 or 3 blocks, but it was awful. I was walking in the streets by accident.
I work on Queen and Leslie, building high-rise condos. It's cold, wet, just want to go home.
Those are some hardy Canadians. Many Toronto area schools, universities and colleges were closed today, while commuters have been facing delays on highways, trains and buses. Toronto's Pearson Airport is telling travelers to check their flight status before coming to the airport. In the middle of January, southern Alberta is seeing spring-like temperatures. Meanwhile, Environment Canada says heat records were broken in 39 communities across the province this week, including Lethbridge, Claresholm, Medicine Hat, and Pincher Creek, some of them shattering records that had stood for more than 80 years. Justin Shelley, meteorologist and with Environment and Climate Change Canada, explains what is causing this provincial heat wave.
So we've been under the influence of a large upper ridge of high pressure that came off of the Pacific and centered itself over the western continent, really. And with that, we've been under a setup where we've had these warm Chinook conditions over much of the province, especially the southern portions of the province, where we've seen temperatures climb as high as the mid to high teens this week. And that has been in place for the last week or so. Now, in the short term, we are still going to see temperatures still above seasonal, but not quite as above as we saw earlier in the week, before a larger scale pattern change next week brings those temperatures back closer to normal, or possibly a bit below by the end of next week.
It sure is nice to have a winter heat wave. Environment Canada reports records for southern Alberta, which include a new high in Lethbridge of 17.5 degrees Celsius, surpassing the previous record of 13.3 degrees set in 1942. Temperature records in Lethbridge have been kept since 1902, and in Medicine Hat, a new record of 14.4 was set, breaking the old record of 9.4 degrees, from which happened in 1931. Weather records in that area date back all the way to 1883. Wow. In other news, an updated set of recommendations has been released on how Alberta's provincial ridings should be divided. The interim report submitted in October by the Electoral Boundaries Commission makes some sizable revisions from the ones submitted in the summer. One of the big changes is the elimination of many of the proposed urban-rural hybrids. Some of the proposed changes are not sitting well with some Albertans, particularly within the town of Coaldale. Under the proposed changes, the town would become part of the Livingstone-Macleod riding, which includes Lethbridge, Fort Macleod, Crow's Nest Pass, and Waterton, but puts other municipalities in Canada's premier food corridor, such as Taber, and a proposed Cardston-Taber-Warner riding. Coaldale Mayor Jack Van Ryn says it's vital to keep municipalities in the agri-food sub-region in the same riding due to progress that is being made under the current Taber-Warner MLA, Grant Hunter.
He is very important not only to the town of Coaldale, but also important to the agri-food corridor that we are currently working with Minister Hunter on regarding a potable water, wastewater study that we're doing. And the purpose of this study is along the agri-food corridor. The long-term goal is to have as many as 8 more McCain-sized processing plants. And our jurisdictional area runs east-west, not north-south. And that includes Lethbridge all the way to Medicine Hat. And for Coaldale to remain in that riding is vital so that we can continue to have the excellent relationship that we currently have with MLA Hunter.
The town recently wrote a letter to the Boundaries Commission requesting that Coaldale remain part of the Taber-Warner riding. The commission is set to host a handful of virtual public meetings on the proposed boundary changes. Events today and January 16th will focus on the south and central regions of Alberta. You can register online. Lethbridge police have provided an update of a grass fire near the Mountain View Cemetery off of Scenic Drive South, which resulted in a 44-year-old woman charged with arson. Emergency crews responded to reports of the fire at around 12:45 p.m. Tuesday in the coulees between the 1200 and 1600 blocks of Scenic Drive South, adjacent to the cemetery and numerous apartment complexes. Police were alerted to a suspicious woman by the cemetery fence line running away from the flames as it quickly grew due to the wind. She was arrested without incident, with officers seizing a lighter and other personal property. The suspect, Audrey Ray Smalllegs of Lethbridge, is charged with 3 counts of arson, plus disregard for human life and failure to comply with the conditions of a probation order. She's remanded in custody and is scheduled to appear in court on Friday. Police confirmed there was no damage to any gravestones, and while a number of homes and apartments were evacuated in the process, no damage or injuries were reported there either. A respected local businessman will be honored by BILD Lethbridge in a posthumous induction in BILD's Hall of Fame. The late Don Donison was founder of Overhead Door in Lethbridge in 1975 and helped advance the local home building industry, according to BILD, where he also briefly served as president in the late 80s. Those close to him say he worked with a disciplined focus on leadership, positivity, and commitments to deep connections with his clients. He passed away in November of 2024, but his daughter Angela says the legacy he left behind continues to drive the organization forward.
My dad had a natural ability to bring people together, collaborate, really relied on the team. That was his sole focus. He was always about finding problems and took those problems as an opportunity to find solutions and loved the challenges. He was a very humble man, and so would never want to take the recognition himself. He would say it's his people, his employees, his family, his wife, the community that he has been a part of. He would definitely say that it was a lot of people along his journey that would help him do what he does today.
Don's induction will occur at BILD's Awards of Excellence in Housing Gala on February the 6th. Film lovers are getting ready for this weekend as the Banff Centre Mountain Film Festival World Tour returns to Lethbridge from January 15th through 17th. The Film Fest will be hosted by Lethbridge Public Library at Yates Memorial Theatre. This year's tour will feature a collection of the most inspiring action, environmental, and adventure films, traveling to stunning landscapes and remote vistas. The 2025-26 World Tour is an exhilarating and provocative exploration of the mountain world. Jonathan Jarvie, program lead for Banff Mountain Film Festival at Lethbridge Public Library, says the Banff Centre Mountain Film and Book Festival is one of the largest and most prestigious mountain festivals in the world.
This is the 24th year that the film festival will be coming to Lethbridge, and it's a mix of adventure and mountaineering films. Attendees can expect to see some amazing mountain views, amazing skiing films, running, cycling, amazing adventure films featuring the mountains. Films from throughout the world, so the films that we're going to be featuring during the 3 days are anywhere from France, Australia, the United States, Canada, Norway, all over the world. It is the 50th anniversary of the Banff Mountain Film Festival in general for the entire film festival in Banff. The main focus this year is because it's the 50th anniversary of the film festival, so they're doing some throwbacks to some of the previous festival years and showing the future of the film festival. This year here in Lethbridge, the new thing that we're having is the analog books book sale, because the film festival is actually the Banff Mountain Film and Book Festival. So this is the first year that we've had books from some of the award-winning books from the Film Festival and Book Festival come to Lethbridge.
Jarvie says the festival will be held from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. and in addition to the films, there will be a silent auction with proceeds supporting library programming. The Canadian Real Estate Association says stable interest rates and tariff clarity should help boost home sales in 2026. The association's senior economist says the Bank of Canada has set the tone.
As the Bank of Canada said on October 29th, that's about as good as you're going to get for now. So the Bank of Canada is pretty much done cutting. We think that's an important factor for first-time buyers because many of them have probably been waiting to get the absolute lowest rate possible before locking in. We do definitely think that that is a factor that could bring some off the sidelines this year, despite affordability not being what they might like it to be. The 25% blanket tariff being announced happened, and it didn't happen, right? Because the announcement happened, and that's scared everyone to death because that was going to be maybe the biggest headwind our economy had ever faced. Conservative economists were predicting 1 million or more job losses. And then that actually didn't happen, right? And so the situation we're in now is not 25% blanket tariffs, which would be a disaster. It's, as the Prime Minister Carney says, the best deal that any country has. And so it's much more, if you're in a city that does, in Hamilton that does steel, or in Southern Ontario that does cars, or in a forestry or steel aluminum town, it's bad. But in macro sense, we've seen a lot of buyers coming back. It's a lot of confidence coming back compared to at least what it was 1 year ago.
Today's prediction of 5.1% growth for 2026 is a downgrade from CREA's prediction last fall of a 7.7% national increase in home sales for 2026. BlackBerry is fighting court claims from a former employee who says she lost her job after complaining that the company's CEO sexually harassed her and then retaliated against her. New documents filed in the Waterloo, Ontario-based technology firm allege that Neelam Sandhu has presented no evidence that her departure was discriminatory, retaliatory, or improper. BlackBerry maintains Sandhu, who was once BlackBerry's chief marketing officer, was let go because of a major restructuring, not because she complained that CEO John Giammatteo allegedly invited her to dinner, caressed her hand, and tried to put his arm around her waist. Sandhu has painted her interactions with Giammatteo as part of a broader pattern in which at least 3 women were allegedly fired after reporting the tech firm had a boys' club culture. And now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX is up 112 to 33,028. The Dow is up 292 to 49,442. The S&P 500 is up 17 to 6,944, and the Nasdaq was up 58 to 23,530. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down $2.73 to 59.28 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 2 cents to 3.14 US. Gold was down $12.47 to 46.1558 US an ounce, and silver was down 79 cents to 92.35 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $7.35 per bushel, barley is at $5.76, canola is at $14.40, and corn is at $7.21 per bushel. Live cattle are up 90 cents to $236.05 for the February contract. Feeder cattle are up $3.67 to $368.42. Lean hogs February contract was up $2.10 to $87.80, and the Canadian dollar was even over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 72 cents US.
Recapping one of our top stories, Canada is calling for the immediate end to the violence seen in Iran during anti-government protests. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says a Canadian citizen has died at the hands of Iranian authorities. Details about the victim have not been released, but consular officials are in contact with their family here in Canada. It seems Winnipeg is facing a growing absenteeism problem in the classroom. Approximately 70 to 80% of the city's inner city children don't show up for school. So where are they? What's the issue, and what is the city, province, and school division doing or not doing about it? We speak with the executive director of the organization Inner City Youth Alive and a senior fellow with the Frontier Center for Public Policy, both of whom are shining a light on this growing problem. That is coming up next. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our stories and interviews. And please vote for Bridge City News for Best TV Station in the Best of the Best Lethbridge 2026 competition. You can go to mybestofthebest.ca under the heading Entertainment. Scroll down until you see the Best TV Station category right there. We'd really appreciate your vote.